Welcome, everybody, to a vaguely familiar podcast. My name is Nazar. With me, as always, my brother and partner in crime,
Bashaar.
Today, we have a very special, out of the cinema, real time, kind of a real time podcast. Today, we're talking about Spider Man No Way Home. And boy, am I delighted right now.
Just a disclaimer. This is gonna be 100% spoiler talk.
Oh, yeah.
There's actually no way to talk about this movie without talking about the spoilers.
So, if you don't want to hear any spoilers, then the gist of it is it's a great movie. Watch it ASAP if you don't want anything spoiled. And that's pretty much it.
That's it. That's as much as you can say.
Yeah, and you've been warned. We are going to talk heavily into spoilers. We're going to go in from the start of the movie to the end of the movie, talk about what we liked, talk about what we didn't like, talk about what this means to the rest of the MCU, what this means to Spider-Man, to Tom Holland, everything. Like everything that we can fathom, we're going to go deep into. And first things first, Bashaar, how did you like this movie?
So you watched it before me, and you were pretty amped when you walked out. You told me that you wanted to get my initial thoughts.
Yes,
because I watched it a few hours after you.
Yeah,
did.
so we watched different screenings.
Yeah.
I watched the one at 3 p.m. today on Thursday. You watched the one at 9 p.m. today, right?
Yes.
So I came out of the theater around 6 o'clock. And did you stay for both of the post credits, by the way?
Yes, obviously.
Yeah. So I came out of the theater immediately. I was like, I just watched it. I don't want to tell you anything, right? We'll talk about it when you watch it. And then as soon as you came out of the theater with your friends, I got a call and it was chaos. It was this noise. Like, what just happened? What? Oh my God, how did they pull it off? Blah, blah, blah. But anyways, we're jumping the gun. How was your experience? How did you like the movie?
I loved it. I think I was looking forward to it ever since they announced it, and ever since we got to feel that this whole thing is even.
This guy's already. He's
very
very
excited.
excited.
We
about
got
it.
to know this whole thing is even a possibility,
Yeah.
and so I was just looking forward to see how are they gonna pull this off,
Yeah.
and they pulled it off.
Yeah. And what you're referring to is, I know what you're talking about, but we'll get there in
Yeah.
a second. It was a 2.5 hour movie. Did you feel like it was a 2.5 hour movie? If I told you that was an hour and a half, would you be like, really?
No, it felt like it was 2.5 hours.
Really?
I was checking my clocks.
No
I
way,
think I
really?
checked it twice.
When? What scenes are you checking your clock?
There were a few scenes I was like, man, really? Like, come on. Like, you're just really like.
What are you talking about?
I know this is a nostalgic movie and you're trying to build moments, but come on, like, get on with the plot line as well.
All right. We'll talk about. I guess those were some of your gripes that you had.
Yeah.
My reaction was just like, I want an hour more of this. This
Okay.
movie moved me so much. I did not see this movie making me so emotional.
Okay, but you're also a very emotional person in general.
No, but that doesn't count. Like that
Like, you said Eternal's the top 10 Marvel movies for you
yeah.
of all time.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a good representation of.
Eternals was great. I will fight anyone.
But
who
you
says-
can't say it's your top 10 Marvel movies of all time.
So how many Marvel movies are there? There's like 25, 28 now?
There's quite a few of them.
Yeah, so it's what is it? Okay, if you want to have this Eternals conversation right now, I'll go for it.
No, but I'm just.
I can just off the bat.
The point is that you can be a bit over emotional when it comes to these movies.
Yes, but
especially walking out of it.
I didn't cry in Eternals. This movie,
You're telling me you didn't cry when you saw Kumail Nanjiani?
I cried at the way he was representing my culture. Yes, tears of agony and like 500 years of colonization were just coming out of my eyes.
Okay.
But apart from that, I wasn't crying. There was not a visceral reaction from watching Eternals. And this is a very horrible movie to compare it with because Eternals is a completely different movie doing a completely different thing. But Spider-Man, especially the last hour of this movie, I am not kidding when I tell you I cried tears of joy. I cried tears of sadness. I cried tears of happiness. I cried tears of excitement. And I'm talking literal tears. I was in the theater that I was in, felt like I was in a stadium. I felt like I was watching a Raptors game. Like every single villain that came on was getting applauded and hooted at. And it was like, I thought this was like the first hour and a half and every single villain is coming on. They got Doc Ock, Alfred Molina, big applause, big like a loud scream from the crowd. The biggest one was probably Green Goblin. He's the OG. And then Sandman he got a trickle of an applause too. And then every single villain that came was getting their moment. And I was there with everyone. And then Ned pulls the ring and he's trying to
Ned
call
pulls the
Peter,
ring.
right? And you see he opens the portal and immediately you see Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
Andrew Garfield comes out of the.
He turns around, he walks over, he comes out of the portal, and that's when I started bawling. This is because Andrew Garfield Spider-Man is my favorite rendition of Spider-Man.
Okay.
Right? So I love Tobey. Like there's no bad rendition. I love Tobey's movies. Spider-Man 2 is probably the best Spider-Man movie and probably one of the best comic book movies of all time. Easy. But there's something about Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man and especially his relationship with Gwen Stacy, with Emma Stone, who I am absolutely in love with and will forever be in love with. That just makes something happen to me, right? And I see him back and the way that he was unceremoniously exited from the Spider-Verse and then he was brought back. Just seeing him take the mask off in Ned's mom's or grandma's kitchen, I don't know what happened. I started bawling.
Yeah, that was a really funny scene as well. Like when Zendaya was asking Andrew Garfield to prove that he's Spider-Man, and then he did the whole marking the cobwebs, and
Yeah.
that was just hilarious.
Just those character building moments, right? And then Ned pulls
He
it
does
up
it
again.
again. My boy
And-
Toby comes
Oh
out.
my god! Like goosebumps right now, massive
Yeah.
goosebumps. And because look, one of the first movies we ever saw in theaters was Spider-Man 2. Do you remember this? It was California. It was you,
Yeah.
me, mom, dad, and our uncle, and we saw Spider-Man 2. It was Spider-Man 2 that summer and Shrek 1.
Yeah.
Or Shrek 2, one of those two. And it completely I still remember it. It blew my mind.
Yeah, so much of our childhood was Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Like I remember we had this magazine that we used to collect stickers for.
Spider-Man 3?
Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
And so it was just like we grew up knowing Tobey Maguire as the Spider-Man.
And I never thought that we'd ever see him again.
Yeah, yeah. And there's also another like emotional aspect of this. Like that was probably the last time that we ever see him in a Spider-Man costume.
Hey, I wouldn't say no.
Perhaps.
No. I would not bet on that. I would not bet on that. There's no way I'm gonna bet on that anymore. Like no. There, I can't say for certain anymore that that's the last time we've seen their Spider-Man. I mean, that's an amazing exit the way that they were rolled out. But again, we're jumping the gun. What did you think about firstly the villains that were revealed, which obviously we knew that they were in the trailers, and then the big guns.
I just think like bringing all of the villains together, you could clearly see how crappy Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man was.
What?
His movies were, right? Because Lizard was so irrelevant in this movie. Like
Yeah, but Electro basically was.
I
leading
know,
the whole
but
charge.
like I'm just saying, like Lizard was kind of there to be there.
Yeah, they couldn't. Okay, the main villains were basically Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, iconic villain, one of the best in the history. The Green Goblin.
Green Goblin is a Joker to the Spider-Man.
Yeah,
right?
he's the arch nemesis. He's the
Right.
Joker to the Batman.
But again,
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. So Tobey Maguire was fighting with the Green Goblin. He was fighting with Doc Ock and then Venom. Whereas
no, Sandman.
Sandman. So and then whereas Andrew Garfield was fighting
Electro.
Lizard and then Electro.
Yeah,
And then Tom Holland was fighting in the Avengers with Thanos.
yeah.
So that's just the disparity of how poorly the villains were in Andrew Garfield's movie.
They weren't
And
poor.
even when they got together, when they were talking about all of the people that they fought, Tom Holland's like, yeah, I've been to space, I fought this, I fought that. And Green Goblin is the main villain in this movie.
Okay, can we talk about how amazing Willem Dafoe is in this movie?
He's great.
Like, one of the best actors of our generation, hands down. The villain that he portrayed in 2002's Green Goblin, 2002's Spider-Man, my bad. One of the best villains ever.
Yeah.
And then he comes back and re-portrays this villain and somehow gives it more character, more class, takes the mask off, becomes the Green Goblin, something that we hadn't seen.
Yeah.
Like some of the scenes that he was in where his face you would see a distinct difference between Green Goblin and Norman Osborn.
Yeah.
There was a distinct difference, and it's all his face. Like that's how amazing of an actor he is, and he carried that scene where Spider-Man, like Tom Holland Spider-Man, gets tingling, and he's in the apartment, Happy's
That was
apartment,
a scene.
and he's just walking around, and he's just like, wait a second, and then he catches him. He catches Norman Osborn flip in a second to turn into Green Goblin.
And then that whole fight scene between Green Goblin and Spider-Man, that was incredible.
Man,
That was insane.
When I tell you, I thought I'd never see that again. And the way that Green Goblin constructed that plan killed Aunt May.
Which I have opinions on.
Killed Aunt May. The last words that come out of her mouth are "with great power
Comes great responsibility.
and then she dies.
But okay, wait, hold on though. Did they really need to kill MJ? Sorry,
May?
May,
Yeah,
Aunt May.
100%.
I thought that for Tom Holland Spider-Man, the death of Iron Man would be that figure that he lost. You know, when you look back at the figures that people have lost in the previous Spider-Mans, Uncle Ben, Gwen Stacy,
Yes, but these are people.
and then Iron Man.
No. Iron Man was just the fatherly figure for a couple of years. Aunt May raised this dude. Gwen Stacy was the love of his life, all right, since when he was a kid. And Uncle Ben raised Tobey Spider-Man. So, yeah, Iron Man had some impact on him. Like, Happy being sad about Tony's death and then being sad about May's death makes sense. But Tom Holland Spider-Man being sad about Iron Man's death to the extent that it just completely changed his life, no, because he just knew him a couple of years. He looked up to him. It was like he was losing an idol, but it's not. It will never be as impactful as someone who raised you, like Aunt May. So her death
basically killed half of the female population of this movie. There were only 2 female characters,
fair.
and then they killed off one of them just to make Tom Holland Spider-Man have that motivation, get that character arc.
Yeah, but all of Spider-Man's
But
motivation.
did she need to die? Like, couldn't she have been severely ill and then she survives in the end?
No, because the whole motivation, the whole point, the whole arc that Tom Holland goes through is that the arc that Toby's Spider-Man went through and the arc that Andrew Spider-Man went through, that they taught him was that rage and revenge made them bitter. They went after the killers of their respected, loved ones, and they changed. That's what Andrew Garfield tells Tom Holland. He's like, this is like, it made me bitter for so long that I couldn't function. It was just punches were just, he never held back his punches, and that's what they were teaching him. To the point where Tobey Spider-Man literally gets stabbed in the back from Green Goblin, right?
Yeah.
They went to that extent to show him that forgiveness is the superpower that you have, that Spider-Man have. It's none of that whip slinging stuff. And it was so powerful. And without May dying, which she had to die, like she had to die. Like, we don't know what happened to Tom Holland's parents. We don't know what happened to them. We don't know if there ever was an Uncle Ben. If there was, then we don't know what happened to him. We assume that he met the same fate that the other Spider-Man Uncle Bens did, but we don't definitively know. So watching Aunt May, who was with him for 3 movies and Civil War and Avengers, to see her go was definitely impactful. Like, if it was either her or MJ.
Right.
And I'm glad they went with her.
Yeah, because they had to really portray that comic book idea where people forget that he's, like, they wipe off the fact that people remember that he's Peter Parker.
Yeah, at the end.
So, yeah, that's a good point. I'm convinced now. I
Yeah.
had my doubts. I was like, why did they need to kill her?
Yeah, they did. It was either her or MJ, and I like what they did with MJ more, because I love not a horrible, but a sad ending, which it was. You know what it reminded me of? The end of this movie reminded me of, and this is a really far reference, deep reference. It's a deep cut Disney Channel 2007 to 2015 reference, but this is the exact ending of the show American Dragon. Do you remember? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
Do you remember the end of the show? The end of the show, he's in love with Hunt's girl, who is the daughter of the person who's trying to kill him, right? And so they're dating, they're in love. She needs to kill him. That's her fate prophecy. He needs to save himself. That's his prophecy. At the end, blah blah blah, a lot of magic stuff happens. He wishes that she is never taken by the Hunts people, and blah, 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 all that magic stuff happens. It reboots. He's still the American Dragon, but she now does not remember him at all. And she has a normal life. She has normal parents. She's chill. She's cool, and he goes and sees her, and she doesn't know who he is in school.
Right.
And I was like, this end is exactly like that, and I loved that ending of that TV show.
Yeah. I mean, the ending of this was so powerful. Like
So powerful.
how they built it up, and like when he goes to the coffee shop to talk to MJ, you think that he's gonna bring it up, but as soon as he walks in, it's like a totally different vibe.
He sees that his lack of presence has changed everybody's life. They both got
Right.
into MIT. They both are living it up. And he, to make the ultimate sacrifice, steps back and he's like, okay,
And I think that was the ultimate growth for him,
that's the
because
Spider-Man
it started
move.
off with him being like, okay, no, you know what, I people gotta forget about me, but that was also for his friends, anyways, right?
Yeah.
Because it was impacting their lives, and how they couldn't live a normal day-to-day life anymore. But to see him go through that, it was great. There's a lot of funny parts in this movie. It was completely hilarious. I
Yeah.
was like dying from laughter.
This movie, yeah, but that's the Marvelisms in it, right?
Yeah.
They make funny movies. That's the thing. And I was just shocked at how they paid service, they paid respects to all the great Spider-Man villains that came before. And Alfred Molina gets a switch, and because if you remember in Spider-Man 2, Alfred Molina's Doc Ock is not a villain. The arms are the villain. They control him. And to show that Spider-Man is not a killer and not a murderer, and that he will go to extreme lengths to change people if they want to be changed, if they can be changed. He had a massive savior complex. Let's be honest.
I was gonna say, some of my friends were like, "This guy has a savior.
Massive.
I can fix him. I can fix him."
Yeah, I was like, bro, you gotta chill. I see you. I know what you're trying to
People
do, but
deserve second chances. No.
I don't know what it was that, but he proved to the naysayers that, you know what my aunt May taught me is right. I will help, and literally without Doc Ock's help, they were gone. And I loved how they changed. I love how Sandman was never truly a villain either. He just wanted to go see his daughter. He became normal. Like, it was just that whole arc of him trying to save these villains, these people who basically have no redemption in their name, and making even the scene where he's beating the crap out of Goblin, and he has the glider, and he's about to do, and he gets stopped by Toby. Like, those are the moments that he was like, that he was made for, basically, that Tom Holland Spider-Man was there for, to learn from these older generations. And I was in it for all of it. Like,
Yeah.
completely.
And it was great to also see like how, even though they were like in different like parallel universes, they almost went through very similar experiences.
Yeah, it's the same Spider-Man
So,
story.
for the three of them to sit and just talk about their experiences and share what they went through, that was like a good therapy session.
I needed an hour of that. When I say that I felt like the movie was short for me, I was like, I need an hour of this. I need a podcast of the three Spider-Men, not Tom, Andrew, and Toby. The Spider-Men sitting and talking about what happened.
That scene where Andrew Garfield cracks Toby's back, that had me on the floor.
That's hilarious.
That was one of the funniest scenes of the movie.
That's I mean, those are the moments that I loved.
And they also almost recreated that meme.
No,
where-
not almost,
where it's
definitely.
like, you know,
They definitely recreated it. And
so-
because he calls Peter, and then all three of them were like, Peter. Like, I knew, like, this, if they hadn't done that, that would have been a missed opportunity. And I'm so glad they did that, because that stuff like that just cheered me up. And I'll tell you, the whole last hour I was like sobbing. So that's why I need to rewatch this movie. Andrew Garfield comes up, I start crying. Toby comes up, I start crying. And then all three of them start like, they hug him at the end. I welled up. But the moment that I cried the most in, again, this is showing how big of an Andrew Garfield Spider-Man fan I am, is when Zendaya's falling, right? MJ's falling. Tom Holland Spider-Man goes in to save her, gets hit by the glider, and it's the exact same scene that was the end of the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
And finally, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man gets the moment that he did not get with Gwen Stacy.
Gets that redemption.
He gets that redemption. He saves her, and he's crying, and Zendaya's like, "Whoa,
Yeah,
what's going on?"
That scene gave me the feels too. I was very close to tearing
Like,
up.
Andrew Garfield and Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone's characters, Spider-Man and Gwen Stacy, had the best romance in some not so good movies. Like the first one was okay, second one was not that good. But their romance, I kid you not, if you go rewatch those movies and not watch that as a Spider-Man movie, but watch it as a good, fulfilling rom-com, you will come out very entertained and very moved because they sell it really well. Like Toby was dating Kirsten Dunst. Their romance was good. Andrew was dating Emma Stone. Their romance was amazing. And then now Tom was dating Zendaya, and their romance is impeccable. Like you see it, you feel it. Like when he walks into the coffee shop at the end, you're like, oh wow, this guy actually loves her, but he can't be with her.
Yeah.
It's just what are you laughing about?
It's the story of every brown dude. Gotta let her go, man.
Not every round is Spider-Man, dude.
Yeah.
So what other parts did you enjoy in this movie? What, because I can go on about an hour more, but I want to hear your thoughts. You just walked out.
Yeah. I think I liked how they again showed how Doc Ock changed, and like you said, he was not that kind of a person in the movie itself, and it was the arms that were controlling him. So to have him go through that was pretty good. Jimmy Fox was funny, but he was acting more like Jimmy Fox more than Electrode.
Well, the thing is, because Electro was, if you remember Amazing Spider-Man 2, he was just like this nerdy guy with a huge gap tooth, and he just wanted to be liked, and Tom wanted to be popular. So like when he finally gets it, this is how he's gonna act. He's gonna be cocky, but not really know how to deal with that kind of thing. I like Jamie Foxx's performance, especially because he was the smart one. He was like, there's too much power in this world, and I'm not gonna like let go just because this kid's trying to save us, right? That's not gonna
Yeah.
happen. What did you think about Doctor Strange in all of this? What was your thoughts on his well, he's great. Benedict Cumberbatch is amazing, but his role in the whole plot, what did you think?
Well, he was obviously the guy who was with the senses, and he was trying to convince Tom Holland Spider-Man that this is not the right thing to do. These
He was like,
people
you didn't
have-
even you didn't even call the university.
Yeah.
He was like, I could do that.
Yeah. So I mean, like
That gave me PTSD from all those OUAC university applications.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
So I
not
mean, him trying to convince that these people will die regardless because that's just their fate, right? In the universes that they're from, they're bad people.
Yeah.
So, and it was the movie was looking like very easygoing. The first hour, it's like, oh, they have everybody caught. They're gonna put them back, all good. And then that plot that thickens from when Tom Holland takes the cube.
Yeah. I mean, we keep forget. It was a really important point that Stephen Strange made in this movie was that sometimes, with all of the ass kicking and world saving we did, I sometimes forget you're just a kid, and
Yeah.
that is exactly what the point of the movie was. That he needed these older generation Spider-Men to come on and basically teach him the Spider-Man way, and I was so glad that I saw that. I'm telling you, when I tell you that I do not believe, like I still pinch myself sometimes to remind myself that this movie happened. When I tell you that I could not believe what I was seeing on screen. Like three Spider-Man, all three from my generation, right? How old were you when you first saw? I was 8 when I saw the first Spider-Man,
Probably 6.
and then I was 14, very formative, 16 actually, very formative when I saw Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and then I was in my 20s when I saw Tom Holland, because Tom Holland and I are the same age.
Yeah.
And So watching, like, literally growing up with the Spider-Man franchise, seeing all three of them on screen was just like, I never thought I would actually see that. Like,
Yeah.
it gave me goosebumps, and I think now that I think about it, the whole the reason I got so emotional was just the nostalgic factor, man. It took
Yeah.
me back to all those three different, very distinct times of my life where I was a preteen, and then I was a teenager, and then I was a 20 something, and I just all of that came with seeing them on screen. It was just so emotional for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. There was a lot of nostalgia, and then I think they're gonna really exploit that factor,
Yeah.
and just all of the Spider-Man, seeing them in the same scene. There's one scene where they all landed on this um with this like this barricade or something,
Yeah.
and there was like that one scene where they're like all together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was
That was
insane,
just actually the scene that got leaked, or the picture that got leaked.
right? Where they attack all the villains together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That too, and the scene that you're talking about, they're talking about the web blood, and like just when Andrew Garfield Spider Man is like, so does your web ever get blocked? And he's like, yeah, it kind of did once, and then they don't know what he's talking about. We've seen the movie, so we're like, oh yeah, Spider Man 2, he completely lost it, and and then he's like, oh,
yeah.
you
Just
know,
got existential crisis.
yeah, and you're like, that's exactly
Got
what
a web
happened.
block.
That's insane. And just hearing Toby Spider Man talk about how he's in love with MJ and he's doing good and he's doing fine, it was just like talking to such an
And
old
how he
friend.
was giving Andrew Garfield like hope. He's like, don't lose hope.
He was giving both. He's like the OG Spider Man.
He was the father figure there.
Yeah, and then Andrew Garfield's like the older brother, and then Tom Holland's the younger brother. And Andrew Garfield is like, man, I'm just telling you, like, Spider-Man 3 did Toby dirty, Spider-Man 2 did Amazing Spider-Man 2 did Andrew dirty, right? And I just loved seeing them being redeemed.
Yeah.
That was it for me. Seeing those two characters just get the final say, because they didn't in the first time around. And I just seeing them, their arcs being completed so beautifully and with respect, completely changed the game for me.
Yeah. It was a great watch. I think I'll probably go and watch it again sometime soon.
I'm going on Sunday. I'm taking my parents. Our parents, our parents are right now downstairs watching Amazing Spider-Man right now to prep for this movie. Like, that's how much they're excited for it.
Yeah. What'd you think of the post credit scene?
Wait, I think you should read. Just Bangladesh is golden. Is it recording? Ask me again.
What did you think of the post credit scene? The one with Venom.
The one with Venom, I was like, if you're gonna bring him, right? Like, he in Venom 2. Have you seen Venom 2?
No, I heard it's so bad.
Okay, but do you know what happens in the post credits in Venom 2?
No.
So in the post credits of Venom 2, he is in a hotel room. The screen shakes. He's watching TV, and then the opening of this movie, which is J. Jonah Jameson's report, comes up, and he's sitting there watching that report, and that means that he's in this universe now, right? And then in the post credit scene of this movie, firstly, did you check my boy Ted Lasso? Football is life.
I did.
I was like,
saw him.
there we go.
I
Ted
was
Lasso
like, I
represent.
couldn't remember where I saw him. I was like,
Ted Lasso, my guy. Danny Gonzalez or Danny Rojas.
Danny
Danny Rojas. That's my boy. And yeah, and then he just came in, studied everything, and then he got sent back to his own universe without even meeting
right. So
Spider-Man.
maybe this is the end of Tom Hardy's Venom, because they couldn't probably see him fitting with Tom Holland on screen.
No, I don't think that's
and
it.
the end of that, like the end of the post credit scene is that the life form
Yeah, he's remained.
remains. So it's probably gonna take over somebody else.
Yes. So that's an interesting thing that they left around.
Right.
Is that the what is that? The alien
The
species.
life form. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever.
It stays in this universe, which is interesting. Why didn't it go back with it? But whatever. It stays in this universe, and then obviously now that will wreak havoc, right?
Yeah.
So
Is Danny Rojas the new Venom?
no. Maybe no. Imagine that though.
Imagine that.
No. But how did you like the second post credit scene, which was basically the trailer for Multiverse of Madness?
Yeah. Good. Good. I was So we got to see like the multiverse situation of Doctor Strange,
Yes.
right? So there's a villain of himself as well. That's over
So
there.
people are saying that's Mephisto. You know who Mephisto is?
No.
Oh, that's gonna be interesting. Mephisto is basically the devil figure of the Marvel universe. So in the comics, when um S- Peter Parker goes to Doctor Strange to get his Peter Parker goes to Doctor Strange first, and Doctor Strange says, "No, I'm not going to help you." Then he makes a deal with the devil, who is Mephisto, who basically screws him over, and then stuff like this happens. This is the rough
Okay.
summary of the arc. So Mephisto is basically there's been an online theory that Mephisto has basically been carrying this entire fourth or fifth phase of the MCU under. You know how Thanos was kind of like the underpinning.
Yeah.
Mephisto is the underpinning of the multiverse,
Okay.
basically. So that kind of just proves the fact that okay, there is this person Mephisto has been acting like Doctor Strange. So does that mean that the person that we saw in this movie is that Doctor Strange or is that Mephisto?
Oh.
We don't even know that because why would Doctor Strange, who's literally the sorcerer supreme, which we found out he's not anymore.
Yeah, he's not because of the blip.
Yeah, but he's still one of the big ones. Would help this kid for this small thing, right? Like that's not very wise of him. So I don't know. I don't know where this goes next, but I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
it.
It's an interesting point, and I'll probably like look at more fan theories about that.
Oh, a lot of new Rockstar videos coming out.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're making like 7 right now because those people are like ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
But yeah. What do you think is gonna happen to? Because Tom Holland's contract ends with this movie. Did you know that?
Really? No, I did not know that.
Yeah,
I was just thinking of
his contract
okay,
ends with this movie.
how secretive did Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield needed to have kept this to not leak? Like I mean, it was we knew it was gonna happen, but we didn't know it was gonna happen.
You know what happened? It wasn't. It initially, Marvel and Sony's plan was not to even reveal the villains. Imagine that. So they were just gonna cut a trailer from the first half of the movie. That's it. But Alfred Molina last year in an interview was like, "Yeah, I was Doctor Octopus again." And so then in a Vanity Fair article of all like those are like the big articles, and that story ran, and then they obviously were like, "Okay, fine, yeah, he's in it." And then Willem Dafoe leaked. Oh yeah, I was in my suit again. And then he was in it, and then Electro, he accidentally posted a picture of Electro. Oh, Jamie Foxx accidentally posted a picture of himself on Instagram. Like stuff like that happened, and they were like, okay, fine, we need to at least let people know that the villains are definitely in it. And then the pictures of Andrew and Toby, and got. I was like, who is the rat in this?
Right. I mean,
Because
but the
all
actors
of the leaks
themselves
were right.
Yeah, I mean Andrew and Toby themselves did like Andrew was just on like so many late night shows.
Yeah, the poor kid, he was trying to promote Tick Tick Boom, and every single person was like, "So, are you in the new Spider-Man? Are you in the new
Have
Spider-Man?"
you met Toby?
And I give Andrew Garfield the Oscar for trying to make this movie still like exciting for everyone.
Yeah.
Because imagine if they showed actually the trailers that they showed the Spider-Man, like that would have ruined that moment where they come back.
And it is a moment like they build it up so well.
Oh yeah,
And
great direction on that part.
Yeah.
Did you notice that the first opening scene is all for a continuous shot?
I noticed that. I saw that. I told my friends I was like this is one take.
Yeah, it's one
And
continuous shot.
that was really great to see.
That was like, okay, good. They're putting in flavors. Like
Yeah.
John Watts is putting a spin on things now, and I like that. And just the cinematography of this movie felt a lot wider. Like there was a lot more space because there was more people, more characters. Every iteration of Peter Parker and every iteration of Spider-Man got its moment to breathe. And I love that. Some of the moments where they were just interacting without Tom Holland was also really fun. Because I was like, okay, so how would Toby and Andrew Spider-Man react to just them?
Yeah.
Because they're more senior than Tom Holland. It's still pretty new to this. It was fun to see that, man. I was just like, it was a delight. What are you laughing?
I was just laughing about that scene where so Toby you don't see him wearing a suit until like
Yeah, I
Quite
was
a
like,
bit of
is he not gonna
time.
wear a suit?
I think
Andrew
Andrew Garfield's like, are you gonna go
a
like,
youth pastor.
a youth pastor? He's like, no, I got a suit.
And as soon as he puts the suit on, you're like, oh my god, that's my guy.
Yeah.
That's the OG guy.
And then they also brought out the same suit that they wore in their original movies. So
At the end, did you catch that last suit that Tom Holland Spider-Man was wearing?
Yeah, the one that he made himself.
You know what it was?
No.
It was, you didn't notice? It was an amalgamation of Toby's suit and Andrew's suit.
Okay.
So the front was, I think, Toby's suit, and the back was Andrew's suit, and it was that same color. And I was like, homage.
Yeah.
It's giving homage to the
Respects.
boys, respect to the OGs. And I just loved it, man. Like I was so hyped for this movie, and this movie came out, did not disappoint me one bit. Like I've said this on record many times. Batman is my favorite comic book character of all time. It's not gonna change. That's number one. That's crown. It's not gonna move. But Spider-Man is the one that I relate to the most. Because Spider-Man's struggles are everyday struggles. That's he's trying to get to work, trying to get to school, trying to find love. It's normal people stuff. He's not always trying to save the galaxy. Like, yeah, Tom Holland's Spider-Man is, but Andrew Garfield and Tobey's was not. And to some extent, even his Spider-Man, to some extent, was not trying to be galactic in scope. And that's what it's all about, man. Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And they nailed it. I cannot believe how amazingly they nailed it, but they nailed it.
Yeah, I agree. And on that note, I think this would be a good point to say thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for coming in. Uh, yeah, I'm glad that we did this. I wish we could have seen it together. Like that would have been so much fun. But yeah, I'm gonna go see it again on Sunday and probably a few more times after that. Cause yeah, this movie it hit all the right spots for me. Want to sign off?
Yep. So this is Bashaar signing off, and with me, my co-host.
Yeah, no, say it, and I'll see you guys on the other side, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.